Ooh. Oh, I'm wet. So wet. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. And if this is your first time, welcome. My name's Max Haddad, and today I'd like to talk to you about a walk I just took in the rain. Now, that's it's not a big deal, right? I'm not like a stronger man because it was sprinkling and I went outside. No, it's just my dog needed to go for a walk, and it's something that we do every day. And I saw that it was raining. It's springtime rain, so it's not like crazy thunder stuff. It's just the sprinkle that happens like every day in a temperate climate. But I didn't want to go. And, well, I did want to go, but I like being in the rain when I want to be in the rain. But if I don't want to be in the rain, like it's not like I can't, I want to be out in nature and it's raining and it kind of becomes that it's a little annoying, just the constant like Chinese water torture for Mother Nature sort of thing. But I saw my dog and she really wanted to go, and I knew that once I was out there, I would be grateful that I did because I take her every day. So when we don't go for a walk, I know too. It's not like just that she's upset. I can tell that I didn't do that because I think it's a really good way to start the day. But here's really why I'm telling you this, because again, it's not a big deal. I'm not super cool because I did that. And I would really have to be out of ideas to sit here and just tell you like, hey, you guys should go for a walk in the rain. Just go for a walk in the rain. I would be at the end of my creativity if that was the point. While I was walking, I couldn't help but think about when I was in prison and the choice that I had made to leave the house, even though I would be very, very, very mildly uncomfortable, and how I was the only person outside. I live in a neighborhood where there are about 1,000 dogs, a bunch of young couples. So even people without dogs are walking around basically on a sunny day, even like, fall when it's chilly and it's overcast or whatever, like people are out all the time. It's difficult because my dog doesn't like other dogs. It's maddening sometimes how many people are in my neighborhood, so I typically leave. But I was the only person outside today, and I was thinking like, man, we really do avoid, and it's Saturday also, okay? So like on the weekends, there's even more people outside. We really do avoid being uncomfortable if we can. And I don't know about older generations. Like I feel like my dad and my mom are just constantly doing difficult things because it's the right thing to do. But I feel like maybe my generation and the ones after it, whatever. We avoid stuff that's annoying, that's mildly irritating. And I don't know about my, Norwegian viewers. Maybe that's not how it is there. But in America, we definitely do that. Avoid conflict because we don't want to deal with the argument. Avoid, take like I don't want to go that way to work. I'll go this way, even though it's longer because that way it bothers me. And like there's nothing wrong with avoiding stuff that's unnecessary, I guess. But I think a lot of times we sell ourselves short because we avoid things that are uncomfortable. I mentioned prison. The reason I mentioned it is this. When I was in prison, I couldn't avoid being uncomfortable anymore. I had spent so much time avoiding the small things, standing outside with my dog and Drizzle, and the big things, feeling like I wasn't good enough, feeling like I was inadequate creatively, sexually, conversationally, feeling like nobody really liked me. They just acted like it so I covered up the big stuff with drugs. I covered up the smaller stuff with food, with isolating. I was afraid of people, so I'll just pretend I hate people and hide in my room. And when I went to prison, I couldn't hide from people. Food was a scarcity, so I just ate what there was. And, everything else in prison, screaming all the time, violence, guards that are trying to prove how cool they are. It's a nightmare. I mean, I've talked enough about American prisons that And it's not just American prisons. Most prisons are terribly, terribly, terribly uncomfortable. And this is not a video about prison reform. This is me telling you that when I stopped being able to avoid being uncomfortable, and I had to learn how to self-soothe through that discomfort, I had to learn how to make myself as comfortable as I could be, even though my circumstances, my environment were terrible. That's when I really started to grow up. And I don't know that I was horribly immature. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, when I was using, and when I was a kid before I was using, and, I felt isolated from my peers, and I think people liked me, but I didn't believe them. Growing up and, as a teenager and all that stuff, I felt like I had missed a memo. Like, at the beginning of life, everybody's handed a sheet of paper or like a textbook, and it's like, here's how to live life, and this is how you can feel normal, and this is how people, like everybody had the inside scoop as to how to feel comfortable in their own skin, except for me. So I was young and I was judging people by I was judging my insides against other people's outsides and thinking something was wrong with me. But I felt like everybody had that inside scoop, and I just missed the memo. So when I say grow up, that's when I finally started to feel like I had an edge on life. Like, I got the memo. And in some cases, like when I was, working in a restaurant and stuff, and everybody seemed miserable, and I was happy and not like shoving it in their faces like, you should be happy. I'm happy. But just, I have become more resilient, almost like I got the memo version 2.0. Awful stuff can still happen, and it'll be devastating, and bad stuff still happens, and it's frustrating, of course. But I feel like I started to be able to handle more things, handle more difficult things, handle myself. That sounds sexual. I mean, like, well, you do that in prison. But I mean, like, when my thoughts were spinning in a different, direction I didn't want them to go, I could slowly start to reel them back in. And when somebody was, trying to screw with me, whether it was, like in prison, like bad, awful, violent screwing with me, or just like trying to manipulate me somehow, I could navigate that situation, and most of the time without making an enemy, so many benefits from being put in a position where I was miserable. And I have said this many, many times and will continue to do so. Prison put me in a position where I had to sink or swim, and I chose to swim. That's what happened. I don't think that's everyone's case when they go to prison. I think a lot of times people are just a victim to the environment, and the choice to like go one way or the other doesn't even present itself to them. And I'm not even suggesting that that's their shortcoming. So many things played into me going to prison and recognizing that this was the only time in life I had actually been presented with a black or white situation. There was a fork in the road. Typically, life is complicated and convoluted, and stuff is never simple. That's what, when we talk about prison reform, and someone says, well, what if you were the mother of, the victim? You would be upset if this criminal went to these posh prisons. And it's like, yeah, I would be, like, it's not as simple as, well, prison should be nicer. It's complicated, and many, many things are. Conflict resolution and relationships and fucking which car should I buy? Like, stuff is not simple. It's just not. But this was. Do you want to sink or swim? And I chose to swim, and it was nightmarish and difficult. And I sank many, many times. Never in ways that were irreconcilable, I never used while I was in prison, didn't even smoke a cigarette, didn't even chew tobacco, which aside, here's some weird stuff. In prison, people don't often just get like cigarettes. At the prison I was at and many other prisons, some prisons you can smoke still, not this one. People will find chewing tobacco that a guard has brought in and spit out, and they'll pick it up off the ground, and they'll wrap it in a paper towel, and they'll microwave it and dry it out, and then they'll roll that and smoke it, and it's disgusting. So that was very helpful. If there were just cigarettes everywhere, I can't say I wouldn't have smoked. I hope I wouldn't have, because it was important that I keep that promise of sobriety to myself. And I'm a nicotine user now. I don't smoke cigarettes, I vape. But then, in that point of time, I needed to just not. And so, yeah, if like people weren't like putting, spit tobacco into their mouth and lungs, then yeah, it would have been maybe harder. But anyways, what am I saying? So I sank a bunch of times. Like I isolated on my prison bunk as best you can. Or I skipped a workout. Or I slept for 30 hours, not straight. It's, you wake up and it's, oh, I'm in prison, go back to bed. When you oversleep and it feels awful. So I made mistakes along the way, but those were necessary. Those were necessary mistakes. But eventually I got a lot better at swimming. And even though the challenges after prison, my life after prison have been different and in some ways more difficult than the challenges I had in prison, and in some ways easier, that ability to swim came with me. Like I learned to swim and now I'm back on land and I'm still swimming, but somehow it works. Like the things that I learned because I was uncomfortable have changed my life. And you don't have to go to prison for that. And if you're in a bad marriage, I'm not saying like suffer, stay in it, suffer in the marriage until you learn to swim. That's not what I'm saying. But I think there is a lot of benefit in not always running the other direction when you see something uncomfortable in your path. And I think this is also something that we all know this. Like, we know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's one of those things that is very much about application. I would have to think you were really stupid if I was telling you sometimes things are hard and I didn't think you knew that. And I don't think you're stupid, so I know you know that. But maybe I'm challenging you, I guess, this week, this month, whatever. If there's a difficult thing, like even if it's, it's the end of the day and you are exhausted, you are spent, but the dishes need doing. And instead of just vegetating and relaxing on the couch and watching me, like and subscribe, please. Which is fine. You should relax and recover and decompress at the end of the day. What if you just asked for like 5% more out of yourself? If even 5%, to just get up and do the dishes. Like something like that small. And you slowly start to stretch your ability to perform at a higher standard. You start to, the perimeter around, like inside this perimeter is what you're capable of. And every time you do something that is uncomfortable, you're like taking a little step outside of it and like scouting out that area. And the more you do that and the more you become familiar with those areas outside that perimeter starts to grow. And so, yeah, I'm challenging you to do something small, huge, whatever, go for it, that is not what you want to be doing in that moment. You're going, I'm eating that cake, celery stick, like something. And you guys know what you know in the moment, this is an opportunity. I see myself doing this and I could do that and it would be better. I'm going to see it this evening because I know once I get all this taken care of, this video and posting and the thumbnail and the hooty-doody-doody, I will be sitting on the couch and I'll be playing old school RuneScape. Shout out to my level 126s. If you know who I'm talking to, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And I could vacuum. I really need to vacuum. I could dust. There's my house is clean, but I couldn't brag about how clean it is. Let's just say that. Like when I say clean, I mean you could navigate from one room to another without bumping into something, like trash on the ground. But it, clean as in it's not an obstacle course. Like it could be cleaner for sure. And so that's what I'm going to challenge myself to do is once everything is said and done, not what I'm going to challenge myself to do. I've already challenged myself to it. Once everything is said and done, I'm going to do a little bit more. And this isn't about being a workaholic. This is not about when you really, really need rest, pushing yourself. That's not what this is about. This is about recognizing an opportunity to grow through discomfort and taking it. It's not about denying yourself the relaxation and decompression that we need. It's about being astute in what you choose to do and not do. Everyone, have a wonderful day. Enjoy your weekend. I will see you on Monday. Talk to you soon. Bye.